Breaking news. Coach Dan Campbell's Detroit Lions are coming into this season with a bang. The fans are optimistic, and I have to admit I'm very excited. I believe our team will make it to the Super Bowl and make history with this current roster. If you believe that too, hit that like button hard and write something like, "I'll see the Lions in the Super Bowl." We have something to talk about today, and it's all about the man with the golden leg, Jake Bates. Now, could Jake have had a better training camp? Absolutely. There were a few missed kicks here and there, short kicks that you'd expect a pro to hit without hesitation. We're talking about some tough practices where it seemed like he wasn't going to be the guy. But here's the kicker. No pun intended. Jake Bates still walked away with the Lions' kicking job, and he did it unchallenged. You might be asking, how did he manage that? Well, it wasn't just about the kicks he made or missed. It's about how this young guy handled the pressure and came back stronger each time. You've probably heard about that 64-yard bomb he hit in his UFL debut that got everybody talking. But what really got Detroit's attention was his resilience. After those early struggles, he showed the kind of mental toughness that you need in this league, especially as a kicker. General manager Brad Holmes said it best, "We learned early on that he's wired right." Bates came into camp in a battle with Michael Badgley, a veteran kicker who's been around the block. But in a twist of fate, Bagley went down with a season-ending injury right at the start of camp. That left the Lions with a decision to make. Do they throw Jake into the fire and see if he can handle it, or do they bring in someone else to push him? Initially, they brought in a few kickers to work out, but nothing serious came of it. Instead, the Lions decided to let Bates take every single rep. That's right, every single one. And in hindsight, Holmes said it was the smartest decision they could have made. He did get better, and he's continuing to get better, Holmes pointed out. But the main thing is, if he does miss one, it doesn't affect him. It doesn't bother him. Now let's be real. Bates wasn't perfect in camp. There were some inconsistencies day to day, but when it mattered most, he stepped up. He finished the preseason by hitting 6 of 7 field goals and 3 of 4 extra points. That's solid, especially for a young guy under the microscope. Among those kicks, he hit a 53-yarder in the rain against the Giants, a 55-yarder, and a game-winning 43-yarder against the Chiefs. Oh, and let's not forget the 46-yard field goal in the fourth quarter of the preseason finale. No small feat. But before we get too comfortable, Holmes made it clear that they're not going to leave Bates without a backup plan. We'll still look at adding another kicker to the practice squad, someone with a bit more experience, Holmes mentioned. So while Bates has earned the job, the team is keeping its options open, just in case. So, Lions fans, what do you think? Has Jake Bates shown enough to be our guy this season? Or should the team be more aggressive in finding a veteran backup? Drop your thoughts in the comments. As the Detroit Lions gear up for another season filled with high expectations, the front office has been hard at work securing the future of the team's core players. Fresh off an impressive playoff run, the Lions have already locked in several key contributors to long-term deals, including Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jared Goff. Now, the focus is shifting to another rising star on the roster. Defensive tackle, Alim McNeill. Lions general manager Brad Holmes recently shed some light on the situation, acknowledging that while talks are still in their infancy, the organization is keen on extending McNeill's contract. "He's been a darn good player for us," Holmes remarked. "We haven't had anything intense going on from a dialogue standpoint, but his camp knows that we want to get something done. But it's very in the infancy stages right now." Holmes emphasized the importance of starting contract negotiations early, a strategy he believes is beneficial for both the player and the organization. "The market's going to change every single day, and you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow," Holmes explained. "We've always felt the earlier and the better for everybody. First of all, I know that the player doesn't want to wait around and be strung along, and us as an organization, we do a lot of planning and preparation to reward these players as early as possible. That's how we choose to operate." But while Holmes and the front office are navigating the business side of things, McNeill is keeping his head down and focusing on football. The young defensive tackle has made it clear that contract contract discussions are not on his radar right now. Honestly, I told my agent not to talk to me about that, McNeil shared during a recent training camp interview. I'm in training camp right now, so I'm not even thinking about that. I got to play good. I'm worried about winning this year. McNeil's dedication to the game is exactly what fans and teammates have come to expect from the 23-year-old, who has quickly become a cornerstone of the Lions' defensive line. But beyond individual performance, these contract talks have implications that stretch throughout the locker room. Assistant General Manager Ray Agnew weighed in on the impact that extending key players can have on the team's morale. In the locker room, when the organization takes care of your top guys, it sends a message that, hey, they're about the right things, Agnew said. So that's what has been most exciting for me, as a former player. What the locker room sees when you pay a St. Brown and Penei Sewell, who deserve to get paid. So I think that sends a great message to the locker room and does a lot for the psyche of our players. The message is clear. The Lions are committed to building a winning culture, not just for this season but for the long haul. By rewarding players who have proven themselves on the field, the organization is not only securing its future, but also creating a sense of trust and loyalty within the team. So Lions fans, as we head into what promises to be an exciting season, what do you think about the potential contract extension for Alim McNeill? Do you believe it's the right move for the team at this stage? And how do you feel about the way the Lions are handling their young core? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Today we're diving into something that should make every Detroit supporter out there feel pretty good about where this team is headed. Let's rewind the clock for a second to a story shared by Nate Burleson about a decade and a half ago. Picture this. It's 2010, and Burleson, a free agent, just walked into the Lions locker room for the first time. A cornerback pulls him aside and says, "This is where players' careers come to die." Yeah, that's the kind of reputation the Lions had back then. It was a tough pill to swallow, especially for us die-hard fans. Fast forward to today, and let me tell you, that narrative is history. The Detroit Lions have done a full 180, and it's not just us saying that. The players are talking, the agents are talking, and they're all saying the same thing. Detroit is the place to be. Let's start with the obvious. We've seen players like Khalif Raymond, Jamal Williams, Charles Harris, and Josh Reynolds, guys who might have been overlooked elsewhere, find new life here in Detroit. These aren't just role players. They've become key contributors. And that's not by accident. It's a testament to the culture that's been built under the leadership of GM Brad Holmes and head coach Dan Campbell. They've turned this franchise into one that not only develops talent, but also attracts it. Holmes recently opened up about how different things are now compared to when he first took over. Back in the early days, he said, it was a real challenge to get players to even consider Detroit. He'd be on the phone with agents, trying to sell them on the vision, the culture, the opportunity, anything to convince their clients to take a chance on the Lions. It wasn't easy, and you could see that in the first couple of free agency periods. Sure, we had our eyes on some big names. Remember the Jalen Ramsey rumors? But they just weren't coming our way. Now tell me, Lions fan, what do you expect from this season? Leave your comment. One pride,